On today's Into Your Head number 712, how deja vu works, plumbing for phlegm disposal, dealing with strangers, fingers versus the media versus stopping wars, and lots more. I've always been a great believer in the dictum, don't make a podcast if you have a heavy cold, but if it's been going on for a good few days now and you don't want to just put out nothing, then do a podcast with the dregs of your cold. As your cold is fading out, then I suppose have a go at it. Just remind the listener that you're not completely up to speed in your post-common cold state yet, that your voice sounds a bit disgusting, absolutely disgusting, although maybe you should sell it better than that. You should say, I'm over the bulk of my cold now, it's all downhill from here. Or is it uphill? Is uphill the one where things are getting better, or is it downhill? Because downhill means it's getting easier. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's you're going uphill in terms of your health, and therefore downhill in terms of the easiness of being able to do stuff well. That's how they have multi-story car parks. You go up one side and down the other. You can go up and explore half of each level on the way up, and then you go down the down ramps. All take you down through half of the other level, and by the time you get down to the bottom level again, if you haven't found a parking place, then that means the business is doing very well. Hopefully you're one of the investors in that car park and not someone who's looking for a parking place, because if you are, then it's all good. It's all good. Anyway, we've a lot to get on with today. Items that need to be attended to, issues that need to be addressed, topics. Topics. We've got lots and lots of topics. We're positively booming to the seams with topics. We've got topics coming out of this phlegm-filled throat. Phlegm-filled throat. That's what we got here. Throat filled with filled to the brim with phlegm. Although, does a phlegm have a bottom on it like a well does? I don't know. Because could it be filled up then? Would it have to have something at the bottom to signify the bottom of the fill? I don't know. Maybe it's like a U-tube on the toilet, a U-bend, and if there's water at the bottom of the bend, then it's considered full, and it doesn't have to be water around the other side of the bend, I suppose. But no, suffice to say, as far as I'm concerned, it's a phlegm-filled throat. We could argue till the cows come home about the technicalities of it, but the truth is, neither I nor you are qualified to speak on these matters, unless you happen to have a first-class honours degree in anatomy, which I suppose is a chance you do. You probably don't, though. I certainly don't. As far as I know, I think I'd know about it if I did. Or maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd be one of those absent-minded scientists, although they tend to work in fields like chemistry and physics, not in medicine. Thank Christ for that. You don't want an absent-minded practitioner of medicine in your life. If you're ever in a position to select a medical practitioner to work in your life, make damn sure to Christ as hell that it's not an absent-minded one, especially any time, especially with everything. That's the same with everything. That's what people like to say. They say it's like everything, which indeed it usually is. People say that to be safe. They say, oh, don't do such and such and such a thing. It's a bit like everything. It is indeed. Everything is like everything in this world, and that's why we feel a sense of deja vu every 5 minutes of the day. It's because everything is like everything, and therefore it's deja vu. Because everything is like everything. Everything is just a load of frigging electrons and atoms, and this is bollocks, isn't it? It certainly is. This is a load of bollocks. I haven't been well, so give me a chance to get warmed up again. Will we have a break? We will not, because it's only been 4 minutes and 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Don't like the way this is going, though. You can be damn sure to Christ as hell that I'm not happy with this content so far. So just know that this isn't something I would like to stamp my name upon. To give me an official Neal from Ireland stamp and said, stamp this on anything that meets your approval and that you would like to put out under your name or under the Into Your Head brand, I can tell you can be damn sure to hell as Christ I wouldn't stamp any of my official stamps on this. Be a damn waste of maybe I'd stamp them and dip the stamp in water, as long as that wouldn't damage the stamp, and do a water stamp. Be like a temporary tattoo, and that would give it the respect it deserves. It would be like an admission that I'm connected with this, I'm responsible for this, I'm not proud of it though, so you only use the ink when you're proud of it. But apart from that, no. Christ, I can feel the phlegm building up in my mouth. I think I'm going to have to spit. Will I spit into the keyboard? I probably won't. Will I spit into this cup? No, maybe I'll go and spit. I suppose I could spit out the window. But it's the front window when it's the weekend, and there may be people out there whose lives depend on knowing that the person who lives in this house is trustworthy. Has that ever occurred to you? It hasn't occurred to me either. But I like to preserve my reputation within the community. So no, I don't think I'll throw up some phlegm out my front window on a Sunday morning, if you don't mind me saying so. I'll go and use the toilet like any normal person. Now, will I use the toilet or the sink? That's an issue. That's an issue that we're going to get bogged down in now. Anyway. 2 dogs walk into a Guinness production brewery plant. One of the dogs goes straight up to the reception counter and says, "Hello, I'm here for your tour of the Guinness production brewery plant." And the man behind the counter says, Are you indeed? And I'm supposed to know that how? And the dog says, You're not supposed to know that. That's why I'm telling you. And the man behind the counter says, Why am I not supposed to know that? Is it some sort of state secret? The government is bringing dogs around on secret tours of our brewery now, and we're not even the person at the counter who checks it in is allowed to know about it. Is that it? And the dog says, I think we've got off to a bad start here. How about I go out the door and come in again and we start this all over again? And the man behind the counter says, Certainly, sir, that sounds like it might work. So the dog goes outside and then comes in again to the Guinness Brewery production plant and goes up to the reception desk and says, hello, I'm here for a tour of the Guinness production brewery plant. I'm a dog. And the man behind the bar says, you are indeed a dog. Although, how do I know you're a dog here? You look like a dog. You smell, I suppose what they say, isn't that the thing? If it smells like a dog, barks like a dog, looks like a dog, talks like a dog, has an online ticket that's printed off the internet for a tour like a dog, then I suppose it's probably a dog. You can't spend your whole life questioning things, can you? That's a question in itself. So maybe that disproves it. Maybe that's a no. You can, or a yes, you can. I don't know. You can get bogged down in that. I can tell you one place not to get bogged down in questions of philosophy like that is a factory, because the first thing, a factory, safety and concentration comes first. You could be thinking about the meaning of the universe. You could be thinking so hard in here that you almost work out what the origins and the meanings of life are, but that won't help you if you fall into a vat of Guinness head foam. It will not, because you'll drown. You'll have a better idea of where you go after you drown, but you'll still drown nonetheless, because you weren't paying attention, because there's a time and a place for everything. And the dog says, I couldn't agree more or less with any of that, because I didn't understand the word of it. I'm a dog. And the man behind the counter says, that's okay. Your tour guide will be along any minute now. Wasn't there 2 of you the first time? And the dog says, there was indeed. The other fella's still over there. He never left. There was just me that went out and came back in again. He didn't feel he needed to have a new start because he just sat there and he's not really normally part of the story anyway. And the man behind the counter says, "This episode sucks monkey nuts big time. Do you know that?" And the dog says, "I'm inclined to agree. I'm inclined to agree, and my mouth is filling up with phlegm again." And the man behind the bar says, or behind the counter says, "It certainly is. Sounds disgusting. You should swallow or something." And the dog says, "I'm a dog. Dogs don't swallow, do they? Or is it that they don't breathe? There's something they don't do that humans do anyway. I forget what." And the man behind the counter says, "Oh, pretty much everything. Oh. Although there's some things we do that you don't do, and there's some things that we don't do that you do, such as, for example, pissing all over the floor." And the dog says, "Sorry about that. I'll mop it up with my fur. You can use me, stick a broom handle into me if you like, and use me to mop it up." And the man behind the counter says, "Certainly, young man, thank you very much. That's not really part of my job, but I let the cleaner know that you've made that offer." And the dog says, certainly, 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 monkey nuts. That's what they call them. They call them big, steaming, shit-eating, piss-poiling, harmonica-playing, bongos tapping over there, where I don't know if you can hear them from over there. If I can reach them from over here and they're over there, surely to Christ he can, because the sound travels further than the human hand. I'm pretty sure of that. Didn't we have Concorde going at the sound of the speed of sound? So surely to Christ, if my arm can reach over and make that sound at the far corner of the table, then surely you should be able to hear that. If you can't, it means there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. You're faulty in some way. You're like a faulty good. Except, of course, if you're a faulty good, we can just send you back and ask for a refund. Unfortunately, you can't do that with my listers. You can't just say, "This one's faulty, can I have another?" Because iTunes will tell you, "No, you can't. There's only a limited number of these to go around. There's 8 billion podcasts now, and you have to keep whatever you can get. You have to fucking keep them. You can't be fucking, they're not like trading cards where you can trade a few with Mark Maron." No, it doesn't work the world doesn't work like that, and if you think it does, you're incredibly naive. Although if you don't necessarily think it does, but you wonder whether or not it does, and you just ask, "Does it?" Then you're just being sensible and inquisitive. You're just being like an inquisitive child, which apparently is healthy. It's healthy to be inquisitive, even if it irritates the shit out of the adult in question. To be inquisitive is to be a learner of life. You can go up to someone in the street and say, "Hello, what are you?" and they could punch you, and they'll get put in jail. And you, if you're a child, you'll get told, "Well done for being inquisitive. Just next time, don't be inquisitive of strangers." And they'll say, "Well, there's no point being inquisitive about someone you already know, because there's nothing to learn." Nothing to learn from them. If it's someone who's not a stranger, you already know everything about them. So there's no point in being inquisitive of a non-stranger. That's why children go up to strangers and ask for questions. They say, I had a child come up to me the other day and said, "Why are you just walking up and down the road?" And as a matter of fact, I wasn't just walking up and down the road. I had passed the child and his friends once on my way to the post office box on the corner, and a couple of minutes later I passed them again, and they were too moronic to notice that I was no longer carrying a brown envelope. But no, stupid fucking children say, "Why are you walking up and down the road?" So I decided to ignore them, because I don't believe in talking to strangers or children, or being a stranger. I'm a stranger to them, so I have no business talking to them either, because if I talk to them, then I'm leading them into talking to strangers. You probably get put on some sort of a list for that. You get put on a list. Here's a list of people who are strangers to the general public, although not to us, the police. They're known to us. That's the problem. You have to not only nowadays do you have to watch out for strangers and keep them away from your children. You have to watch out for people who aren't strangers and who are known to the police and judiciary system, because those are like strangers, except they've been found and discovered to be of unpalatable, what do you call it? You know, no, it used to be just watch out for the strangers. The ones who aren't strangers are fine. All I'm saying is that life has got far too complicated. This is why I only have cats. You can't go wrong with cats. You just say, hello, cat, come here. Is it time to pet you yet? And they'll go either yes, it is, or no, it isn't. And then you go and buy them a chicken, and you put the chicken in the cats, and then they go asleep, and then they go out and explore the world. You get on with your day, and you don't have to worry about any of this crap. Christ, this is bollocks. This is the biggest load of bollocks I've ever recorded in my life. And if you're new to this show, then it might be your fault. It might be your arrival here that has caused this. Anyway, on with the show. I know what you're thinking there. You're thinking today's episode is substandard. The standard is there, just at the top of my monitor there, where my finger's resting, and the standard is there, and this episode is just below it there, which is appropriate because my finger's on the screen, and the episode is a currently viewable in visible form, has a graph on the screen, a couple of inches below my finger. So yes, I suppose if you want to be all literal about it, yes, today's show is substandard. But what if I move my finger down here and put it down just at the bottom of the monitor? Then the show, as it appears on the software here in graph form, is above the standard. You see, standards are movable. A standard is a movable feast. It's as movable as my finger, and even if my finger wasn't movable, I could just use something else to represent the standard. You see, these things, you can just manipulate them, just like everything in the world is manipulatable. Just remember that every time you're looking at anything in the media or any advertising in a shop or anywhere, remember, ask yourselves the following question: has this been manipulated? Has someone said this is the standard and just put their finger wherever it suited to put their finger, and then put whatever they're trying to promote higher up than their finger, so it's straight away it's above the standard? Now obviously the finger is a metaphor there, unless of course I don't know, but no, wherever the finger is, everything above that they'll say is above standard, and everything below that is below standard. That's how easy it is to manipulate human beings. So just remember that, and we're all open to that, but none of us is exempt or immune to that sort of thing. So you have to keep our eyes open, keep our ears to the ground, keep our feelers out, as a spider does. It's a spider that does that. A spider keeps its feelers out, feeling for everything, watching out for stuff, sniffing the air like a cat. That's why we have senses. We have senses so we can see where the finger is and what's above it and what's below it. All metaphorically, of course. Thank Christ we're the only creatures on this planet that can understand metaphors, because if we weren't, that would make it even more complicated. You'd have cats going around talking about fingers, and you'd ask them, what do you mean by a finger? You certainly don't mean a real finger as in the type we have, because you don't have any. And then they'd have to explain to you what the finger metaphor meant to them, because I'm sure it means something else to them from their view of the world. No, and we're going to have the same problem if we ever mix with aliens. We're going to have that as well. I'll say, what do you understand the metaphor to be? And they'll say, well, I think a metaphor is like when you put a finger there, and everything above it is a metaphor, and everything below it just doesn't exist at all to us, because we can't, our eyes don't go down that far, unless of course we move our heads, I suppose, in which case you're looking at it from a whole new angle and everything changes. I can tell you, once you get into those levels of complications, we're all going to just have to give up. We've probably been there before. We've probably had previous civilizations that got that far, and then just met aliens and cats and decided, fuck this, this is too complicated for us, let's go back to the dinosaurs, or we'll start a new Garden of Eden or something. I don't know. I find it very hard to think about it today, even with my ongoing common cold, which hopefully is relapsing and disappearing. I still got a mouthful of phlegm, though. Do you want a mouthful of phlegm? You probably don't. Don't worry about it. I have no way of transmitting it to you from here. I was just being sharing. If I had a bag of crisps here or a bag of M&Ms and you were here with me, and I didn't say, would you like a crisp or would you like an M&M, or I suppose 2 M&Ms at least? Can you offer someone an M&M? I don't know. Do you need a pair of them for it to be an M&M? I don't know. Anyway, no. If I didn't offer you one of these M&Ms that I don't have here, you think I was being rude. So the same goes for the phlegm. I say, do you want a bit of phlegm? It's all I have at the moment, but I'm willing to share. And of course I expect you to say no, or no thank you. Don't expect for one moment. If you said yes to the phlegm, I think you were being fucking weird. I'd probably get up and leave the room. Although I wouldn't. I'd tell you to leave the room, because this is my fucking room in my fucking house. No offence. Well, let's just lay down a few ground rules here for a bit of manners. A bit of manners gets you far in this life. That's why they're managing to hold back the whole Syria thing, because Russia and a man from America got together and came up with a plan. They had a bit of diplomacy and manners. Somebody somewhere had a bit of manners, and they translated into diplomacy, and now we're probably not going to have a war for a while yet. Isn't it great? You think it's all just about phlegm. You think it's all as simple as just not pouring your phlegm into someone's face. You think, what does that matter to the world? Well, to tell you, it matters a lot. It matters a lot. What's that song? It matters a lot. It matters a lot. Come on here, girl. We've got a lot of stuff between us. So hang on to what we've got.
Into your head.
Do you like this program? Well, it's about time you proved it. Search for Into Your Head in iTunes, leave a 5-star rating, and write a nice review under it. Do it today. It's been 6 years, you know. I'll be checking. I eat podcast listeners for breakfast, you know. Breakfast. Anyway, review the podcast in iTunes. It's important. Hash browns and toast, please.
Remember, we value the opinions of you, the humble and ignorant listener. Email studio@intoyourhead.com.
Support the Podcastual Arts at no cost to you. Just click through the Amazon link at intoyourhead.com whenever you go shopping for anything, even if you use Amazon UK or Canada. We'll take your weird foreign money here. We're not proud. Just visit intoyourhead.com and click on the appropriate Amazon banner.
Into your head.
2 cats walk into a helmet factory. One of the cats goes straight up to the helmet factory production line and says, "Hello, can I have one of your finest helmets, please?" And the foreman says, "Oh, we don't sell them here, we just make them." And the cat says, "That doesn't seem like much of a business plan, if you don't mind me saying so. You're making things but not selling them. Is that what you're saying to me?" And the foreman says, No, we just make them in here. They're sold somewhere else. They get shipped off and distributed through a sophisticated distribution channel, and they go all over the country. And if you go into your local helmet shop, I can tell you that's where you get one of these helmets. Go off to your local helmet shop, or get one online, I suppose. I don't know really very much about the real retail side. It's not really my thing." And the cat says, "It certainly isn't your thing. It's not a thing, it's a concept. It's a concept. A thing is not the same as I suppose it can be, but it's not. It could be, but it's not. The concept, let's not get bogged down in that though. Where do I get one of your helmets, and where do I get compensated for travelling all the way to the helmet factory, which I, in good faith, assumed would be able to provide me with a helmet in return for funds, but wasn't able to?" And the foreman says, "I think you need to leave now. This is bad hygiene, having a cat in a factory factory. And the cat says, it's not a frigging food factory, it's a helmet factory. And the man says, I know it's not a food factory, it's a helmet factory. But you can't be having, there might be people buying these helmets who are allergic to cat hairs. And if a cat hair gets inside their helmet while they're driving down the motorway at 150 miles an hour and they get distracted by an itchy nose because of your hair, then they're going to have a problem. And it'll be our problem, I can tell you, and it'll be my problem. I'll be held responsible. It'll be on the police report. It'll say, this fella crashed his motorcycle because there was a cat hair in it, and we know which foreman was responsible for it as well, because there's only 4 of them, and the helmet will have a batch number on it, and you'll be able to trace whose shift was on in the factory the day that helmet was made, and today will be the day that helmet was made, and it'll be your hair, although you probably won't be held to account because you're a cat, which I suppose is fair, because if you run over a cat in the road, you're allowed to just drive on without even reporting it. So I suppose it's fair that a cat shouldn't be held to account if a cat causes a human to have a crash. Well, surely there must be some better way of doing it than that, you would think. And the cat says, I would indeed think that. I never thought of the hair issue before. Sorry about that, but I'm a cat. It's the norm for me to shed hair everywhere. Everywhere I go, I shed hair, even if it's in a shed. Ho ho, there's a little pun for you. And the foreman says, that's not really a pun though, is it? It's just saying a word this has 2 meanings. Shed, that's not a pun. There has to be a bit more to it than that for it to be a pun. And the cat says, if you're not much of an expert on written humour, then why are you sitting here being the foreman in the helmet factory? And the foreman says, because this is what I'm good at. I'm good at it. I was able to spot straight away a possible danger to our customer's safety the minute a cat walked in the door. That's how good I am. And the cat says, I suppose I can't argue with that. You do the job that you're good at, and if you end up in a job that you're good, well, are you happy? That's the question I have for you. And the foreman says, well, I'm not very happy at the moment. There's a danger. There's an imminent danger to one or more of my customers while you remain here. And even when you're gone now, I'm going to have to check for hairs everywhere in case they somehow get onto someone's boots, and then someone walks onto the conveyor belt and a hair gets onto the conveyor belt and gets into a helmet, and the helmet gets sold to some poor bastard who's allergic to cat hair. If you're allergic to cat hair, are you also allergic to cats? How does that work, I wonder? Well, let's not get distracted by that. And the cat says, I'm very sorry. I know when I'm not wanted somewhere. I'll leave now immediately. And the foreman says, oh good, you seem to be still here though. And the cat says, that was a prediction. I was predicting that I will leave now, but my prediction doesn't seem to have come true. It's very hard to predict the present, but I predict that at some time in the next few seconds I'll leave. And then the cat starts to walk towards the door, and then he says, oh look, I was right. And the foreman says, oh, well done. You're obviously good at predicting what you're about to do. Why don't you get a job doing that somewhere? I don't know where you'd get a job doing that, but good luck finding one. And the cat says, oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Foreman. Thank you very, very, very much. Mr. Foreman, how do I open this door? Oh, well, just push it, Foreman says. Where'd you get that song from? And the cat says, oh, there was a song called Thank You Very Much, Mr. Eastwood by the retired boxer Barry McGuigan about his manager. Or was it someone in character doing Barry McGuigan for a sketch show? It may well have been, I don't know. Either way, that's where I got it from. And Foreman says, oh, I see. Are you still leaving? And the cat says, I'm almost gone now. I've managed to get the door open. Hopefully it'll swing closed behind me. and then I'll just sort of leave. I seem to be doing that now. I'm on my way out. I'm out in the car park now. You probably can't hear me anymore. I'm out in the car park. Now I'm out. Oh, I found something to sniff at out at the gate. I wonder what it is. I think it's half a sandwich from the local convenience store. I think I'll drag it home and try and eat it. I wonder, can the foreman still hear me? He hasn't answered in some time. It's probably good. I don't think he wanted me there. And a great night is had by all. Have some listener correspondence to be dealt with from Matthew, who, if I remember rightly, is in either Scotland or England or somewhere like that, although he seems to know a lot about Irish economic and political history of recent times. Judging by his first topic suggestion, he's putting some clever misspellings. I wouldn't go so far as to call them puns, but he says the phrase "been there, done that," but he spelled done as in the surname Dunn, D-U-N-N-E, which is a rather clever reference to a property developer who everyone hates at the moment over here because of various economic issues. But I'm not going to go down that road of discussing the pressing economic news and current affairs of my country, Matthew, if you don't mind. It's depressing enough where every time you turn on the radio every 5 minutes here at the moment. It's the people in the banks are coming round with an axe to get you, and the people in the government are selling axes to the people in the banks and telling them they can pay for them later. In fact, they're giving them the axes for free because the government owns the banks. By the way, you've misspelled Taoiseach, Matthew. Now that's understandable because nobody outside Ireland knows how to spell Taoiseach. Taoiseach being the official Irish title of the Prime Minister. You spelt it in it. Maybe that was a pun too. If it is, I don't get it, so it doesn't work. Nice try though, nice try. Now your second topic request says miniature cacti. I presume that's some sort of a cactus that's small. Cactus that's small enough to not notice, so you could accidentally sit on it. Basically, it's a weapon. A weapon of mass destruction, except is there such a thing as mass destruction on a small scale? If you were to build up, say, a whole garden of bonsai cacti and vegetables, have a little bonsai house in it and have some little tiny bonsai maybe you could have a bonsai lawn and a bonsai tree, let's say, and let's say you had dwarf hamsters would fit in there as well, so you had a little dwarf back garden, a miniature bonsai back garden. If you went in there with a miniature cacti, that could be a weapon of mass destruction despite it being very small. You could stab everything in it with the cacti. Although would the cacti grow in a place like that? Obviously it would have to be damp for the grass and the vegetables to grow and for the hamsters to survive. Cacti probably only works in the desert or in a little mini bonsai desert that you've probably recreated in your toilet or something by never flushing it. That's how do you grow a miniature cacti in your house? A thing that's designed to grow in a desert that's got no water or air or anything. You probably have a misused no longer used ensuite toilet that's all dried up, and you plant them in there. But you never get any enjoyment out of it in there. If you're going to have a miniature cacti, if you're going to go to all that trouble and have a miniature cactus growing somewhere in your house, at least put it somewhere where you're going to get. This reminds me of my father. My father used to have an antique clock. He was very attached to it. It was hundreds of years old. One day he decided he was sick of it being 3 seconds out, so he brought it down to the clock shop and he said, "Let me know when this is fixed." And he went back every month for about 8 months and it still wasn't fixed, and he said, "Feck this, I want to enjoy this clock while I still can." So he took it home with him, knowing full well that it wasn't exactly in line with the atomic clocks with which they used to tease us every night at 9 o'clock on the television by showing us a clock that had the exact right time. It wasn't a real clock at all. It was an electronic depiction of a clock that they had up on the screen on RTE1 television, and they'd show the second hand going up to the 12, and the idea was you'd sit in front of your own clock and set your clock by that. You'd say, oh, the television says it's 9 o'clock. Television, the media is more likely to be right about it than my clock, so I'm going to set my clock by that. But every day the clock will be a second or two out. You'd have to a clock is no use if you have to manually move the hands every frigging day to get it right. But no, it's still there. That clock is in America now. It's going, that clock. That clock now resides in North Carolina, which means it can be up to 5 hours behind the correct time and still be correct. So there's less pressure on it. My brother brought her over to North Carolina. Actually, I was wondering why he did that. He brought her over to North Carolina where he lives, so it has less pressure on it. It can be up to 5 hours behind the normal time, and it'll still be fine. Absolutely fucking fine. And his third topic here from Matthew is your choice of random vegetable. If it's a random vegetable, then it can't be a choice. That's bollocks. Anyway, thank you very much indeed, Matthew, for that. I'll treasure that because it's filled up a couple of minutes on the show. A couple of minutes. There are loads of ways. Of course, there's plenty of ways. I don't need you to fill up the show. I'm not saying that I couldn't have done it without you. But help. Thank you very much. I could have, for example, have just done this for 5 minutes. I could have done filling up the show. This is the way to go. We're filling up the show. Filling up the show. Oh, this is the way to go. This is the way to go. This is the way to go. Of course, there's more to life than filler. You can't just fill up everything with filler. I'm just minded to today because of my phlegm-filled throat. I think I've done quite well. I seem to have constructed a normal length show despite having a throat full of phlegm, which I think is quite an achievement for me. I'll have a go at doing another one shortly, as soon as earthly possible, and then hopefully we'll get back to normal. We'll get back to so-called normal, what we call normal, sitting on a freaking planet whizzing through. Oh Christ, it's raining again. Trying to dry the fucking clothes. I'm trying to do clothes drying and podcast making simultaneously, and the rain pouring down from the heavens outside isn't helping. Please stop raining in here. So, if it would rain inside and not outside, I can record in the rain. I can't dry clothes while in the rain though. So if it would rain inside and be dry outside, that would help. Although we say that, but really I'm only theorising. It's not even real theorising. It's fictional, and we're not going to make it rain indoors and not rain. I've already lived in a house before, thankfully for a short time, in which it rained indoors, but it was raining outdoors at the same time there, so you couldn't dry your clothes anywhere, except maybe on the radiators or by putting them on top of a maybe we should in my day you used to have a clothesline that was adjustable. You'd have a thing on a pole with a pulley on it. You pull at the pulley and that would lower the line to make it low enough for you to put the clothes onto it. Then you'd pull at the other pulley and that would raise the line high. If you got one of them and you raised it high enough so that it went up above the clouds, now that might seem impractical at first, but if we did it as a community, if we had a communal clothesline that we made, I don't know, some sort of a net that was up above the clouds, and it would arrange that it would be pulled down every 3 hours. The whole thing would be pulled down over our gardens, and anyone who wanted to put out their clothes could put it on then, and then it would be raised up again. and then we could have something as a community that we could be proud of that we've done together, because that's what's missing nowadays, community. There's no community anymore. People used to have to go to the well. It was just like your well, for those who don't know, a well in the old days was like the community version of the office water cooler. You'd go to the well with your big bucket over your head, and you'd go ostensively to fill up your bucket with water that you need to keep you alive. For we all knew you weren't really just going for water, you were going to get the news, because there was no frigging television in those days. The only place to get the news was from the well. Usually the town crier would be there too. He'd be saying, "Yo, hear ye, here's some news. The main news today is that the well is empty." And then everyone would go, "Oh Christ, that's a wasted journey." And then someone else who was more community spirited would say, "A meeting between the members of the community is never a wasted journey. Although admittedly now we're all going to die of thirst if we don't get something done about it. But it's a good job we're all together now. We can have a little meeting and make some sort of plans. So at least there's that. If we didn't have this community well system, we'd be all out on our own. We'd be all out on our own up shit creek without a paddle, and a paddle wouldn't even be much use because there's no water. But no, everyone calm down and we'll figure it out. Has anyone got a loaf and a fish? I might be able to work something with those. We'll just have to figure out how to get some water to wash it down. Where will wine do?" And then someone else says, "Well, if that fella behind me would stop whining, that would be a start, because I can't even think clearly." And then someone else will go, "Is this supposed to be a version of the parable of the loaves and the fishes from the Bible? Because I thought we were just talking about wells." And someone else will say, "You're allowed to meld a number of different stories in together." In fact, that's a good thing. If you're coming up towards the end of a podcast episode, it's like that thing in a symphony. You have a thing that, is that at the beginning of a symphony or the end? Maybe, that's the thing at the beginning where you have a thing that has a sample of all the little themes that are going to come up. What's it called? An overture. Oh yes, it's an overture. An overture is supposed to be at the beginning. Although I did have that thing where I go, "On today's Into Your Head podcast, blah, 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 blah." So that's the nearest you get to an overture in this sort of thing. And I've already recorded that, so that won't include anything about this thing with the fishes and the loaves and the well. So think of it as a nice little bonus surprise stuck in at the end. Anyway, good morning.
You've been listening to Neal tell you stories. About cats, probably. Neal talks a lot about cats. Send your topic suggestions to studio@intoyourhead.com.
Into your head.